Alright guys, we are here watching a competitive Modern League that I played earlier with Hollow One. Now I am commentating on this on the replay because I wasn't doing it at the time, but I was pretty happy with this league, so I wanted to go ahead and show it off and so you can see what the deck can do. Now we'll go ahead and start here, and I am on the draw, and you'll see that my first couple hands are not great. My first hand was overloaded with lands, my second hand had none, and I had to mull down to 5. I had some lands, I had a turn 1 play, but nothing else really, so I had to stick with that. Now, my opponent is going to play a Wooded Foothills here, so that made me think maybe they were on burn, something like that, but then we are going to end up seeing that they get an Overgrown Tomb from that and Thoughtseize me. Now, unfortunately, they are going to take my turn 1 play, forcing me to just really do nothing. Now, I do get to fetch out a Blood Crypt here on end of turn, and then I get to play a Goblin Lore, which is letting me hope I don't throw away that Hollow One, but unfortunately, there it goes. It's gone. But Bloodghast is in the graveyard, which I'm going to get to pick that up on my next turn. Now, my opponent not doing anything on turn 2, so I get the Bloodghast back with the Bloodstained Mire, and I am going to be able to get a Gurmag Angler onto the field. So that's not a bad turn 3 at all. I'm pretty happy about that. So I'm going to delve out my cards here. And I have a pretty solid board state going into their fourth turn. Now they end up Monastery Swiftspear on the field, so this does look a little bit more like Burn or some kind of a Burn Jund hybrid almost. It was a little odd. Now I do hard cast a Bloodghast out of my field, out of my hand, which never feels great, and then I get to bolt my opponent so that that Bloodghast gains haste. So I am going to get some hasty Bloodghast here with my opponent blocking Gurmag Angler and making the surprise mutagenic growth play, something that just came out of left field, seeing that play in anything other than an Infect deck, but it does end up getting to eat my Gurmag Angler. Now I find another Bloodghast on the draw here to get to hardcast it, and all 3 of them get to smash in, hold a couple lands in hand to recast or get back any of these that die, which luckily I'm going to get 2 of them back because of that lightning bolt there too. It's possible I should have waited till my turn to play that, but I have a second land in hand, and they kind of see the writing on the wall here with them being at 2, so I go ahead and I take game 1. Alright, off to game 2 we go. Alright, here we are with game 2. Hand not looking too bad, but Dragonskull Summit being the only land in there that's going to intertap doesn't feel great. So I'm going to keep this 3-land hand, not too exciting, and I don't even get to cast Bloodghast on turn 2, but we're going to get to throw out that Goblin Lore, hopefully keep our Tasigur around. So that's what we're looking at here. Now my opponent playing a Sacred Foundry and a Steppe Lynx, which is an interesting kind of card, an unusual card, something I did not expect to see. But, you know, it's kind of, this looks like kind of an interesting brew for Modern. And you're going to see that they are able to just power this thing out, really. So we get through our turn here. They play a fetch land, pumping their Steppe Lynx, which this thing is just going to get absurd because they grab another land, taking this up to a 4/5 on turn 2, making me look at this card and think this is really good, right? Like, I'm impressed by this card. I did not expect a little card like this to be able to do this. And then there's another one. So this is looking like some pretty dangerous threats on board. And look at that, a Wild Nacatl. So they're representing a lot of damage, a lot of creatures on the board, turn 2, and really making me realize this is more of like a zoo deck that I'm just not familiar with than a burn deck, now that I'm seeing all these creatures like this. So now I'm going to go ahead and get to play Goblin Lore, which is going to keep me a Delve creature, but unfortunately also keep Flamewake Phoenix in hand. Now, Bloodghast is in the graveyard, but I do not have a land, so that's a little rough. But they're going to get in for a bit of damage here, taking me down to 11. And then our next hand, we're going to look at, well, I'm thinking I'm probably going to cast like a Gurmag or something like that, or we could go for the value play of playing a Goblin Lore and hoping to get that Hollow One out on the field. Now it looks like we are going to go for that big flashy route. We're going to get that Hollow One. We're also going to get an Arid Mesa that we can get our Bloodghast back with, crack it to get a Blood Crypt, and then play the Tasigur as well. So a pretty big, crazy, splashy turn for me in this case. So we're going to see my opponent taking out the hollow one with an Ancient Grudge. That's unfortunate, but I find a Faithless Looting to get to toss a Bloodghast and a Flamewake Phoenix. I'll be able to play a Flameblade Adept, and then that Flamewake Phoenix will get back on the field for me, or actually not get back on the field for me. No, I decided to hold up the Fatal Push instead, which I know was a pretty telling move. Really makes them think I must have something if I'm not playing out that Phoenix, right? So it seems really suspicious, but it's the play I felt like I had to make there, because it's possible at only 8 life they were just going to all-out attack me, especially with Bloodghast being unable to block. It just seems like it's kind of in a scary spot. Now there's Rest in Peace eating my graveyard. Sad, I lost my Phoenix. I lost my Bloodghast as well. So 2 nice cards I have in the graveyard went away with Rest in Peace. And then they were representing a decent amount of damage. I decided the Nacatl is always a 3-3 instead of sometimes a 3-3. With only 2 cards in hand for my opponent, I thought the Swift Spear might be just a little bit less dangerous than a permanent 3-3. Now I am able to play the Bloodghast here, just hard cast that. And then I can also play the Goblin Lore if I want, but I opt not to. Now, I'm not sure if that was the right play, because that would have pumped my Flameblade Adept and would have just made me attack in for a lot of damage here. Now, I'm not going to do the math at the exact moment and see if that would have been lethal. It's entirely possible it would have been, or maybe that was just an awful call. I don't know. But they go ahead and sacrifice a Steppling, which hasn't got pumped in a long time because they seem to have got stuck on 2 lands. So those really aren't doing much other than being 0-1s at this point. And now I'm realizing, okay, maybe this is why the card isn't played. It's not always a 4-5 on turn 2. So they are playing a fetch land here, making this Steppling a lot bigger, and now my creature gets bolted, my Flameblade gets bolted, meaning they are just going to get in for 6 damage, making me realize yet again, maybe Stepplings is great, I don't know. But it definitely won them this game. So here this goes. They are going to win that game, and that is over. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go on to game 3. Alright, so in game 3 here, we had sideboarded in a Grim Lavamancer. After seeing all of those creatures, I thought this just seems like a great card here. So I go ahead and I have the Grim Lavamancer on the battlefield. I'm pretty excited to have it. And then it gets bolted, of course. But at least it ate a removal spell, right? That's not bad. So I get to play my Bloodstained Mire, fetch out something, and then I thought maybe I could play Collective Brutality here, but even discarding 2, I'm not getting to play the hollow one. I'm not making any value plays. I'll wait for next turn, play that Collective Brutality then, because then it just seems a lot better. Now there's that Wild Nacatl. I thought, ooh, I can get the Wild Nacatl with Collective Brutality, but look at that. There's a Plains making it a 3-3. So making me kind of wish maybe I should have played Collective Brutality next turn. I don't know. But hey, I'll at least be able to get this Stepplings, right? So that's not too bad. It doesn't make it a complete wash of a spell. So I go ahead and play that Collective Brutality, because now I'm going to be able to play the hollow one. I discard that Bloodghast, kill their thing, grab a Bolt from the hand, drain 2, gain 2, all 3 modes, because that card is just insane in this deck sometimes. Grab my Bloodghast back, get my hollow one on the battlefield, and then be able to get Tasigur out next turn. It just seems great. So they're cycling Street Wraith because this deck is full of surprises. I did not expect to see Street Wraith in their deck, but they're just looking for some answers at this point, it looks like. There's a Monastery Swift Spear, which can be a very scary card, especially based off the amount of mutagenic growths I saw in game 1. Like, still surprised about that. So I get a Burning Inquiry, which at this point does not look good because I just want to be able to cast that Tasigur, right? I don't want to attack with Bloodghast here because in my mind, it's just going to get eaten by the Nacatl. I don't have a land to replay that, but then as soon as I pass priority on attackers, I'm like, crap, no! Because by not attacking with Bloodghast, it lets them think better of double blocking. So my worst fear happens here. I get double blocked. I can only kill one of these creatures, so I opt to make that the Nacatl, because the Nacatl cannot get pumped by some spells from their hand, except mutagenic growth, or, you know, it can't be prowessed up, I should say. That's what I'm trying to get at. So I kill the Nacatl because I also think the Nacatl is just a scarier creature all around. I'm left with a Bloodghast on the field that probably should have attacked, but I do get a Tasigur here, so not all is lost. So they're fetching away into a Blood Crypt. And let's see what they have to do on their turn. They play another land. They're down to 2 cards in hand, and they play a second Swift Spear, opting not to attack in pretty wisely. I do have a Tazir on the field after all. Now here's a Flamewake Phoenix. This looks pretty good. I'm going to hardcast that Phoenix, and I'll be honest, in this deck, it is not a bad feeling to hardcast a Flamewake Phoenix. You'd feel like it would be playing 3 mana for a 2/2, but that Flying Haste, flying does a lot in Modern right now, I feel like. It's just a very strong keyword, and it almost always gets me in for damage. So even spending that 3 mana, especially late in the game, top decking that is not bad. And you'll see here, I went ahead and I was able to deal lethal even through both their cards. Or I wasn't able to deal lethal, but they saw that I had pretty much won the game. They weren't going to be able to come back from this next turn, so they conceded. So we got our win there. Like I was saying with Phoenix, again, very strong card. Hard casting it from your hand feels good, and oftentimes, by this point in the game, when you are doing that, where you top deck into it and are able to play it for 3 mana, you have them at low enough life where this is going to put a very real clock on the game. All right, so that is match 1 down, 1-0, on to game 2. All right, here we are on match 2. Looking at our 7, this looks, you know, I think pretty decent. We can cycle Street Wraith when we want. We can cast Collective Brutality turn 2. You know, we have Bolt, Hollow 1 that's going to be able to come out pretty easily turn 2 because we can cycle Street Wraith and do Collective Brutality both on that same turn. I think it is honestly just fine. I'm going to play that Arid Mesa, hold up the Bolt if I need to, and then, you know, just get my 4/4 out on the field turn 2. Now, seeing a Steam Vents, this makes me think probably Storm. But then I see a Soulscar Mage, which is really surprising. Let's be honest, this is Modern. You don't often see those yet outside of Standard, but I like it. It's kind of spicy, right? So I'm going to go ahead and crack this, get my Blood Crypt, and not cast it on the Soulscar Mage, because I don't feel threatened enough by that to use up my Lightning Bolt. Now, maybe I should have, because, well, let's be honest, it can be a pretty scary card. But I get a second Hollow One with my Street Wraith. This is exciting. Collective Brutality is looking so good right now. So I toss both my other lands, because at this point I'm feeling like I don't need 3 lands, right? That's not necessary. So I'm looking at my opponent's hand, and I take Opt. That's the only real card they could play there, right? And I kill the Soulscar Mage. That's awesome. I'm slamming out 2 Hollow Ones on an empty battlefield with a Bolt in hand to deal with anything I need to deal with. So this is just looking so good right now. Now, I kind of skipped through a little bit of looking at their hand. They had 2 Wizard's Lightnings in there, which cost 3 mana unless they control a wizard. Now, of course, Soulscar Mage is a wizard, so I thought getting him off the battlefield seems like a very solid value play. They can't play those without a wizard, and they already just see it's too late, right? Grabbing that Opt was their only real play this turn, the only play they wanted to make. It's put them too far behind. I'm attacking for 8, like, it's just too much. So they go ahead and scoop, move on to game 2. All right, looking at game 2 now, we see there's Bloodghast, Fatal Push, you know, some big creatures here, not a lot in hand. Like, we have a way to kill a creature and we have a Bloodghast, but not a whole lot else going on. So, should we keep this card, or this hand? I guess we do. We saw our opponent was on a mulligan, and I felt comfortable enough with that we could just kind of power out some cards, because by the time we're on turn 3, we got 3 fetch lands in the graveyard, probably a Fatal Push. We're actually able to just cast a Gurmag Angler by only delving 4, and that doesn't feel bad at all. Now, you'll actually see my opponent is on a mulligan to 5. That's really rough, but it makes our hand look all the better. And they're starting with a Sulphur Falls, which again isn't an exciting way to start a game of Modern. So I'm going to play this Bloodstained Mire, go ahead and grab a Blood Crypt, and then I'm going to take the risky call playing Burning Inquiry. Now, this can let my opponent draw into lands, and playing in maybe it kind of reshuffles their hand, right? When they only have 4 cards in hand, this is going to be like a total reshuffle, a total redraw. And this is where the game can get really interesting, is deciding, do you play the Burning Inquiry now or not? And a lot of times, if you have information on your opponent's hand, you can decide, I don't want to do this because I know their hand isn't enough to beat me right now, and they're just effectively top decking. But at this point in time, I'm hoping maybe that 5 can't be that good, or their 5 they started with couldn't be that exciting. They probably just didn't want to go lower, and maybe that Burning Inquiry can get me even farther ahead by playing a turn 1 Hollow One or that turn 2 Gurmag, and put them even farther behind by maybe eating their only land drop, right? You know, it's kind of that risk, but I feel like it's worth taking here. Now, it leaves Hollow in my hand. That's awesome, even though it did discard another one. But I'm going to be able to play turn 1 Hollow 1, turn 2 Gurmag Angler. That's just an awesome run of events. So they're playing a Soulscar Mage here, turn 2. That's fine. It's kind of small in comparison to my Hollow one. 3 Flamewake Phoenixes in my hand, no land, so that looks a little bad. But we're going to go ahead and attack in with the Hollow one here. Hope he blocks, because that would just be great, right? Get their only creature off the board. That's always good. But as expected, no blocks. Now, we can't actually cast the Gurmag, because I was kind of counting on having that land or some way to do something, but we only had 5 cards in the graveyard, 1 land, and that equals 6. We need 7, right? They do nothing on their turn. They don't play a land. They don't play a creature. So at this point in time, I'm thinking, let's just Fatal Push the Soulscar Mage. Let's make a good use of my mana. But unfortunately, he does have a Wizard's Lightning in hand, which is going to hit my Hollow one and put 3 -1/-1 counters on it before the Soulscar Mage dies. So now I just got a 1/1 on the field, but that's okay. I found my second land. I'm able to cast my Gurmag. All is good, right? So now I am going to eat out my graveyard, tap this Blood Crypt for Gurmag, and still hold Arid Mesa up so that I can just end of turn get a dual land that will let me cast Bloodghast next turn, or heck, maybe even Flamewake Phoenix if I can top deck a land. Now, my opponent does get a Serum Visions and cast a Monastery Swiftspear, but they put both cards on the bottom from Visions, so that always feels great. You love seeing them bottom 2 cards because they're looking for answers, they are not finding them, and time is just running out at this point, right? Now, I opt not to crack the Arid Mesa because it's not going to be a big deal if I crack it this turn for the Bloodghast. I'm at a comfortable enough life in this game. And if I find some way to get the Bloodghast in the graveyard, I'd like to be able to get it back for free. Now, I am only attacking with the Gurmag here because, remember, my Hollow one is just a 1/1. So I'm going to play Flame Blade and pass the turn. Alright, my opponent is playing a Soulscar Mage here, effectively making my Flame Blade a lot less of an exciting card to be on the field, and Hollow one just a chump blocker at this point. So I still feel like I'm in a good position, but they are establishing a board state here. Now I find a 3rd land, which is going to let me grab that Flamewake Phoenix, which again is a huge card that has flying. You know, when you're in these matchups where your opponents do not have flying, it just gets over for some guaranteed damage. They're only at 10. I know it's a 5-turn clock, but it is a clock, especially when I have multiple Phoenixes in hand. Next turn, I'm going to play another. I'm attacking for 4. Next turn, I'm playing a 3rd. I'm attacking for 6, right? Like, it can get out of control very quickly, and it's a lot better of a tempo card than you expect. Now, there's a Storm Chaser Mage. Again, this is a really cool brew of wizards. I'm a fan of this. This is neat, right? I want to see this in Modern. So I'm going to play Faithless Looting, because that just looks awesome here. Let's ditch both of these Phoenixes. We find a Bolt in hand, so even if something crazy happens on attacks, I got a Bolt just to kill them, right? Now, I want to go ahead and attack. I'll leave Bolt as a last-ditch effort. I know it'll probably just kill them, right? But I got a land-in-hand Bolt in case something goes wrong. I'm just going to go the Phoenix route. So I attack all in. I have so much. It would have to be something absurd that would happen. They Bolt one thing, but, I mean, really, what's that going to do for them? They have way too much damage coming in. They see that. Game is over. 2-0 right now in the competitive Modern League, and we're going on to match 3. Alright guys, we are here for match 3 of our competitive Modern League, and I'm looking at a hand that looks pretty decent. I should be able to force that Gurmag Angler out pretty quickly, right? Like, that's my goal. Turn 2, probably turn 3 Gurmag Angler. That's never too bad. But I'm going to go ahead and play Faithless Looting turn 1, throwing away a land, because I've realized 2 lands is generally enough with this deck, and I'll draw into another one if I need it, right? And I don't need that Burning Inquiry because I like all the cards in my hand here. That looks good. So they're going to play Polluted Delta. Now, every time I see a Polluted Delta, that makes me think they're going to grab a Steam Vents. We're playing Storm. We're playing something like that. But there's a Watery Grave. Now, this looks like Death Shadow to me, right? Like, that must be Death Shadow. What else plays Death Shadow? And there's an Inquisition. So I'm like, absolutely, Inquisition, Death Shadow. Now, they actually spend quite a while looking at my hand here because they're trying to figure out what the right play is. A lot of my cards are honestly pretty strong, and I think they're trying to figure out if there's a way to stop me from casting Gurmag next turn. Unfortunately, there's not here, right? I have a second land. I have 5 cards in my graveyard after their Inquisition. That's 7. I can play Gurmag. That is actually meaning the Inquisition kind of helped me there, right? Like, that powered out my card a turn sooner. Now, if that would have been a Thoughtseize, it would have been kind of scary for me because, well, there goes my Gurmag, that's my plan. But here, we just get to slam that 5/5 on the battlefield. We get to do some exciting, fun stuff that this deck is known for, and we're putting some pressure on very quickly. Now, wait a minute, they're playing a Mutavault, right? That's not Death Shadow. This is a card I'm not used to seeing, and there's Bitter Blossom. This is weird and crazy. But I'm excited because I love Bitter Blossom. That is just an awesome card to me, and I think it'll be interesting to play this matchup. I find a Street Wraith. That's actually a really solid card because that combined with Collective Brutality can actually make sure I cast Hollow One this turn too. But I find Faithless Looting off of Street Wraith. That's like a perfect card in this scenario because now I can play that Hollow One for free. I don't have to discard my whole hand to the Collective Brutality. I just get to toss a Bloodghast. Awesome, because I'm going to play this Arid Mesa. And then I am going to get to cast Hollow One for free. I'm going to be able to even play Collective Brutality if I wanted to. Now, I don't want to. I'd only get to use one mode. That's not super exciting. Maybe it's worth it just to see their hand and grab something, but I'd rather hold on to it and use it for something stronger. Now, they make their token with their Bitter Blossom, and they Inquisition me to grab that Collective Brutality. They knew that was the only card left in my hand based off their Inquisition earlier, but they found that threatening enough to go ahead and use it to make sure it got out. Now, they do have 2 Mutavaults here, meaning one of those Mutavaults can be a blocker, and I have to keep that in mind, but only 3 power on the field is not going to be enough to make blocking that scary. I'm going to go ahead and crack the Arid Mesa here and go ahead and get a Blood Crypt. Now, the reason I got that is in case I draw into a Bloodghast on a future turn so that I can play it out of my hand, just so I have that double black, and I don't feel like my life total is hurting at the moment. Now, I do find a couple exciting cards here, but I decided to keep the Bolt. Now, the push would have dealt with the Rogue or the Mutavault, but the Bolt does that same thing, and it can also hit their face if need be to get that a little extra damage in on some kind of, dicey blocks if they decide to make them. So we get in for 2 here, wipe their board clean, take a land from them even, put them in kind of a bad spot. Now they have a tapped land entering, so I'm feeling like I'm definitely in a good spot here, holding up this Bolt so that if I may be able to just win this turn, right? So I'm expecting, okay, I'm going to attack with these guys. They're going to play Mutavault. And then, wait a minute, they tap Mutavault. That's a Snapcaster Mage. Oh, no, they're going to wreck me with something from their graveyard, right? But no, I take a look at their graveyard. What do they got there? They only have an Inquisition of Kozilek. 1, sorcery speed. 2, they're tapped out of mana. They can't do anything with it. This is fine. He's just effectively a Mutavault. They just didn't want to lose their land to it, right? So we go ahead and get 2 more damage in. They make some not super profitable blocks. They lose their field, and then they Bitter Blossom again down to 5, and they realize it's not going to happen. It's too late. We can't find an answer. And we're going on to round 2. Looking good so far. All right, here we are with match 2, or game 2 in my 3rd match, however I should say that, against this interesting little Bitter Blossom blue-black control deck. It seems kind of cool, right? So let's see. This hand is looking good. I think we keep this hand. We have, Flameblade on turn 1 if we want. We got Burning Inquiry to ditch some of these Phoenixes, Goblin Lore to do that same thing. We should be able to make our hand look pretty good. We're going to go ahead and cycle the Street Wraith in case we find a Hollow One, which would kind of incentivize some of these other plays. But we do just go ahead and end up playing that Flameblade Adept. First off, I kind of like doing that a lot of times so that I can really make use of these Goblin Lores or these Burning Inquiries, get that +3/+0 on it, smash in for a decent bit more damage. Now that you do see they opt at the end of my turn and then play a Mutavault, so that Mutavault can be a blocker, but my Flameblade Adept does have Menace. So that is always an important thing to keep in mind, and something a lot of times people don't realize. So I'm going to play Burning Inquiry, hopefully shake up their hand a little bit, discard some cards that I don't need, but look at this. This is a card I was not expecting, has never played against this before. Spellstutter Sprite. So what it lets you do is actually counter a spell equal to the number of fairies you control, and since, well, my spell is CMC is 1, and he controls 1 fairy, that thing gets countered. That's okay, not worst case scenario. I'm still going to get to play a Flameblade Adept this turn. I didn't lose it. Or maybe I want to play a Lightning Bolt. I don't know. I haven't decided. But I go ahead and get in with 1 with the Flameblade Adept I have. And then I'm going to go ahead and play this second Flameblade. Because I feel like having having Goblin Lore in my hand is high enough value to be able to get 6 additional points of damage on the battlefield. I just want to do that. That seems great. Now, I do want to be aware that these sprites are in his deck, maybe in his hand, because if he casts a second one, that's going to be a 2-mana spell he can counter now, right? So that is just something to keep in mind, but Street Wraith, an awesome draw when you have the Adepts on the battlefield. It is going to pump them a little bit. I'm going to draw into another Bolt. Now, what I think here is I could play Goblin Lore, but I really like having these 2 bolts in hand. This seems like it just has some value, because this is an Enter the Battlefield ability, so I can kill something when this is cast so that they can't counter my spell potentially, or I can just get blockers out of the way. I think 2 bolts is just better than getting the additional 6 damage pumped on Flameblade Adepts, and I know that's a lot of damage to get pumped, but I think the bolts are just higher value to be able to hold those up in case I need to play them. And there's a Snapcaster Mage targeting an Opt, so they're going to be able to maybe find some nice stuff here. And they're actually going to bottom the card on Opt. That always feels great. You love to see them bottom the Scries. But now they have 4 mana on the battlefield. And you always have to keep in mind at that point, Cryptics, maybe they're playing Jaces in this deck, I don't know. But they're feeling good enough to attack in, even though I have these Flame Blades that can pretty easily get pumped. So I know something's probably up here. They probably have something going on. But I decide, what's my best chance at winning? They don't have anything in their hand, and I am going to bolt them twice. I'm going to get them down to 7, because if I play Goblin Lore, Flameblade Adepts each get to 4 power, I can just win. So I decide I'm going to make them have something in their hand. This, honestly, probably is the wrong call, but I wanted to do it, right? It seems so exciting. Plus, Goblin Lore just seems like a good play here. I maybe keep Hollow One, cast it for free, get Flame Wakes to the graveyard, be able to play them with if my Flameblade Adepts get big enough. Or, you know, if I can find a land, then play one of those Flameblades this turn, or the Phoenixes this turn, because my Flame Blades will be big enough. But look at this. There's a Spellstutter Sprite. It gets to counter a 2-mana spell, which honestly is very bad for me in this situation. So really making me regret tossing those bolts into the trash. Well, I mean, I got something out of them, but it was not good. So they activate a Mutavault here. They have their 1/1. They get to go ahead and put that in front of one of my Flameblade Adepts, and because my Flameblade Adept is just a 1/2, I have to kill the fairy. I can't even kill their land. That wasn't a good attack because I didn't pay attention to the fact that they had that Mutavault mana up. So things are not looking good for me at this point, especially with only 2 lands on the battlefield. My life total is getting perilously low, and I am down to 5. What am I going to draw here? Is it going to be good? No, it's a Hollow One. This is just downright bad, honestly. So I decide I need to cycle one of these. It's about my only hope, if I'm being honest. And I do find a land, but that just feels like it's going to come up short at this point. I can't even attack in because I feel like they're probably going to have a flash creature that's just going to do me in here. And, well, there it is, Vendilion Clique. I'm going to concede to this. It's too much. I don't have a shot. So we're going to call this game a wash, and we're going to go on to Game 3. Alright, looking at my hand for Game 3, this looks amazing. I love hands like this. Double Street Wraith, and then being able to cast Hollow One off my only mana, that seems amazing. I love it. So we are going to keep the heck out of this hand. It looks so good. we're going to cycle that Street Wraith, cycle that other one, find a couple lands, which is fine. That just gives us fodder to throw away to Collector Brutality, right? And then we get Hollow One out turn 1. That is great. Love it. So they play a fetch land, don't even crack it turn 1, and my goodness, that's even more lands, right? So we're going to play one of them. We are going to play Collective Brutality, and, you know, we actually, even though we have so many lands, we're going to toss that Phoenix, because it's much greater value to get that Phoenix in there, and we can't play target creature gets -2/-2. We could discard another card, but we got to target our Hollow One. We don't want to do that. Now, and I mean, there's just not a lot of reason for it. We notice their hand is kind of loaded with cards. I mean, let's take a look at this here. 3 Fatal Pushes, that's not a big deal. We have a Hollow One on the battlefield. They can't hit those. Maybe it'll hurt the Phoenix, but that Phoenix is going to come back. They have a Snapcaster Mage. They have a Board Wipe in hand. Look at that thing. And then a Sword of Light and Shadow. That's exciting. But honestly, I'm not even that worried about that card. So we're going to take their Board Wipe here. We're going to get that out of their hand because I feel like it's probably the card that threatens me the most because it's the only one that actually removes my Hollow One from the battlefield. So we're going to go ahead and get in for 4 damage. And they're going to crack their fetch. They're going to, well, not do anything with it because they don't have anything in their hand to do with it. Let me open this up so we can remember what exactly they have. So they're going to play another fetch there. There goes that Polluted Delta. And they find a Nihil Spellbomb, which they did not have before, but that is going to get the Phoenix out of our graveyard. Now, that's okay. We still have a Hollow One on the battlefield. That's usually enough. And not a big deal that we lost our flyer. We'll live with it. So there's a Hollow One. Now, we did find a Bolt in case we need to deal with any crazy threats of theirs. So we're going to hold that in hand for a while until we need it. And we find a Bloodghast here, too, which is not bad at all. We get to hardcast this Bloodghast. They're at less than 10 life. It has haste, and we're still holding up the mana for Bolt. So we're going to swing in here for 6. Now, the Bloodghast gets Fatal Pushed, but oh, well, that's fine. Let's play our land. Let's just get it back, right? And now we don't want to crack that fetch. We want to save that fetch for whenever Bloodghast dies again, because they have tons of Fatal Pushes. We know it's going to die again. We know we're going to recur this thing many, many times. But here, all we have to do is get in for 4 damage. Unless they have an answer to Hollow One, well, we're going to be alive. And even if here, I'm thinking, okay, Snapcaster Mage, that's fine. They can target that Fatal Push. They can kill our Bloodghast. But you know what? Let's just kill their Snapcaster Mage. They're not going to have a blocker for my Hollow One, and it's going to get through for the 4 damage we need. There's the game. 3-0 in our competitive league right now, and moving on to match 4. All right, here we are with match 4 in our competitive Modern League with Black Red Hollow One, and looking at this hand looks like it could be pretty cool, right? Like Street Wraith, Faithless Looting, toss a couple Phoenixes, you know, fill my graveyard to the point where maybe I'm just playing Gurmag on turn 2 and then being able to grab some Phoenixes as soon as I can, right? Like, that seems amazing. But look at this. Dragon Skull Summit's the only land in my hand. That's coming in tap. That's not good. That's where a Blackleaf Cliffs would have helped us out a little bit. Now, you know, I have the Dragon Skull Summits in there for budget reasons. I know, blah. I should be stepping it up. But this is a hand where it hurts me a little bit, and I'm going to have to mull because I'm not running Cliffs. So, sorry guys, but a good hand is going to waste here. So I look at this one and I decide this is a keep. I have a land for Faithless Looting. I got Goblin Lore. I got things to do, ways to pump out this Hollow One, and I look at this, my Scry. Look at that Street Wraith. That is the dream right there. Faithless Looting, Street Wraith turn 1, pump out that Hollow One. Heck yeah, I am keeping the heck out of this, putting it on top, and I'm even on the draw here. Like, this is one of those times where I am so thankful I'm not on the play because I'm going to get that Street Wraith turn 1 and let Hollow One get on the field. Otherwise, that wouldn't be happening turn 1, right? So I am going to see this. I am like Storm all the way now, right? Polluted Delta this time was a Steam Vents. This time did play a Serum Visions. Okay, so I feel like having a Lightning Bolt is in hand is pretty good because that's going to deal with Baral or Electromancer. That's going to put me significantly ahead because you got to kill those creatures in Storm. Now, they top and bottom from their Serum Vision, so that's okay. That's better than topping 2 cards. That's like the death, you know, right there. I don't even know what I was saying. But I'm going to cycle Street Wraith, find a second land, which is actually pretty good. I'm going to play it and fetch because I want to fill my graveyard up with as much as I can for Gurmag Angler. So I'm going to go ahead and cast Faithless Looting. I'm like, awesome, a Blood Gas. Let's get rid of that thing. Let's toss my Goblin Lore because I like my hand. I don't want to give up my hand. And then there's a hollow one. Look at this, 5 cards in the graveyard turn 2. I'm going to be playing another land on turn 2. I'm getting a Gurmag Angler right next to my hollow one. Good stuff. My opponent still does not have anything on the board, and I am A-okay with that. Going to smash in with my hollow one here and find a Flameblade Adept too, which is not a bad threat at all in this matchup, I don't think. You know, it can get bolted, but that's fine. I'm going to get my Bloodghast back that I tossed away last turn with this Dragon Skull Summit. And then, look at this, play the Mountain, and, you know, I don't know, why did I not play the Angler here? Maybe I just didn't see that line when I was playing this, because I'm not going to lie, as I'm commentating this right now, looking back on the game, that seemed like an obvious play. Throw that Angler out on the battlefield. But I do still get 2 creatures on board. I make them lose a bolt from their hand. I have a bolt of my own that I'm able to hold up because on turn 2 they are going to be able to play Baral or Electromancer, and I would like to kill that. So maybe I was actually making the right play here, the smart play by stopping, well, nothing, because they didn't play anything turn 3. So I probably should have had that Gurmag out, but now I actually have the option of Tasigur, which seems pretty good. You know, I'm okay with that. I'm going to go ahead and get in for attacks here. Take them down to, what, 5? No, yeah, 5, hopefully. What are they playing? Oh, no, an Electrolyze. Now, that's interesting because, you know, I presume this is Storm. Everything I had seen so far led me to think Storm, but, well, Storm doesn't play Electrolyze, so I'm playing some other sort of, like, Jeskai control-ishy deck. Well, maybe not Jeskai. I don't know. But killing Bloodghast, that's not a big deal. I got another land in hand ready to go for that one. So I am going to lose my Bloodghast for oh so short of a time, get it back right away with that Blood Crypt, and then I am going to play one of these Delve creatures. Now I have 5 cards to eat out of there. I will tap 2 lands to go with that to cast my Gurmag and put it on the field and still, well, I guess not be able to play Lightning Bolt, not hold it up. That probably was a misplay looking back on it because I kept Faithless Looting in hand, or in my graveyard, so I could play it. Don't know how I feel about that. I probably should have let it exile so that I could hold up a Lightning Bolt, but my opponent has seen enough. They realize game's over. We're going to match 2. Alright, looking at match 2, I am going to keep this hand. I am on 1 land, but I have some good discard outlets to get that Phoenix and Bloodghast to the graveyard. I have Thoughtseize, which I feel like maybe I'm still up against Storm. I'm against some kind of a deck that I feel like if I get like a key card out of their hand, I could maybe turn this around. So that's why I boarded it in. It was kind of an iffy thing, but, you know, I thought I'd try it out. So turn 1, they're playing Island and going to get a Relic on the battlefield. This is immediately making me really think, Bloodghast, Flame Wave, that's not as good as I wanted it to be. So we are going to just play the Thoughtseize on the first turn instead of using my Faithless Looting to ditch the cards that are just going to get exiled away. Now I see a Remand here and a Jace here and 3 lands. So I honestly don't know what the right call is. The right call is probably the Jace. I've actually thought about this play a lot since I actually played this match, and I think the right call is probably Jace. But I end up taking the Remand. Now, the reason I took the Remand is I wanted to try to effectively win the game before they could get to any big plays. I know they're kind of in top decking mode until they get to turn 4 with just the Jace in hand and the islands. So I thought if I can just try to get enough stuff on the battlefield, apply enough pressure that Jace is going to be kind of a less impactful card, as opposed to Remand is going to draw them a card and it's going to put me a turn behind by stopping me doing whatever. So I go and take the Remand. Again, is that the right call? I don't know. But it's what I did. And we see them go ahead and tap that Relic, as they're going to do a lot in here just to have me exile a random card to keep me off of like some Gurmags or Tazigurs or something. Another Flamewake Phoenix, which is not great because I don't have another land, but I think surely I'm going to find that land in my Faithless Looting? No, I don't. So I put a couple of cards in my graveyard thinking, let's just kind of bait them out of using the Relic while still having the Phoenix, another Phoenix in hand. And they're still on the way of just exiling one at a time. They see I didn't play that second land, so they probably know I'm kind of in some trouble here, and they have time to just let it sit. So I'm going to cycle Street Wraith, still don't find a land. I am not in a good spot, but look at this. I am able to play Faithless Looting, ditch 2 cards, and play both my hollow ones because that Street Wraith let me get to 3 cards discarded. So I'm going to spam out both hollow ones onto the field. I am going to hope maybe I can get that Flamewake Phoenix, but, well, it's not going to happen, of course. They're going to go ahead and crack that Relic before I can do it, but that will allow me to play a Flameblade Adept with that mana. So I'm going to get a decent amount of cards on the field. It's important to remember I do still know they have a Jace in hand, and this is turn 4 for them. So they're going to be playing that Jace. That Jace has the option to Brainstorm. It has the option to Fate Seal. It can bounce one of my creatures. I don't know what they're going to do. Well, they decide they're going to bounce it. That makes sense, let's be honest. You know, let's kind of get some power off the board. Now, they are only at 2, so that opens them up to, well, it's probably going to die next turn because I have 5 power on the board. So maybe that was the right call for them. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I think it had to be. I think they're kind of up against a wall at this point. But I'm going to find a land, which is actually going to let me put a Phoenix on the battlefield. Really excited about it because it's going to be able to go at Jace by itself while my other 2 creatures go at them, being able to deal 5 to them and take Jace off the board. I'm feeling pretty good right now. I think that was a pretty powerful turn. But look at this. Another Jace bouncing my second hollow one. Now again, I'm going to be able to kill that Jace with this Phoenix and deal 1 little damage to them with the Flame Blade, but I'm kind of out of cards to cast here other than that Flame Blade in hand, being at only 3 mana, nothing really to discard to hollow one, so I'm kind of stuck. Now they're opting end of turn just to find a little bit more, and there's another opt. And nothing at that point. I get the Goblin Lore in hand, and I think with 2 Flame Blades on the field, with enough cards in my hand that I could cast with it, if I keep one of them at least, that seems like a good card for me here. But why am I doing this? I'm just swinging in for 4? What? What did I do that for? I have no idea. I just passed my turn and only attacked. Now, they end up bolting my Flameblade Adept, and I remember at the time I was playing this, I had some crazy rationale for thinking, no, I can't play Goblin Lore right now, but that was absurd. I 100% should have been playing Goblin Lore at that exact point, but it gets back to my turn next time, and I am playing that Goblin Lore. Now, it does get spell snared, unfortunately, but I do find a land in my hand. So I'm going to get that little bit closer to casting Hollow One or Gurmag or something. Now here is a Cryptic Command, bouncing my Phoenix. That's not a huge deal. I'm going to be able to play it next turn if I want to, so that's okay. They're at 8, which is a fine number to be at, but there's a Thing in the Ice. That's not a card I was expecting, and it's kind of scary. So they're getting 3 counters on it, and I know they probably have enough cards that they can, you know, spam it out pretty quickly. Here is a 5th land, so that's pretty exciting. I can start casting Hollow Ones soon, and my Phoenix, it gets remanded. That takes a counter, draws them a card, wastes my turn. I'm going to ping in for 1 here with my Flame Blade, and we're going to get in just for that little bit more damage. Okay, so it gets over to their turn. Thing in the Ice is still at 2. They have 2 cards in hand and lots of lands, but they are going to pass, so I'm aware we probably got some crazy combat tricks happening. Now, this is interesting. We have a Faithless Looting. So Faithless Looting is going to let us discard 2 cards, get that Phoenix to the graveyard, and be able to play 3 Hollow Ones this turn. I am so excited about that because I am going to have the mana for the Phoenix. There's 1, and then 3 mana for my Hollow Ones. That is awesome, right? So ready for this. Now, here's the thing. I know they're probably going to have some crazy combat tricks on combat, right? Or crazy tricks on combat. They want to either get stuff out of combat, kill stuff, or flip Thing in the Ice. And I am in a bad spot if they flip Thing in the Ice, right? Because that just gets my Hollow Ones and all that awesome turn with Faithless Looting just negated. So I play a single hollow one before combat. That way you can kind of bluff them into thinking that's the only one you had, and I get one there that activates the Flamewake Phoenix. Now you'll see here they actually go ahead and kill my hollow one with an Abrade. Now that's okay. Now I did make a very unfortunate decision. Whenever the triggered ability for Phoenix went up, I went ahead and tapped for my red mana. That I did because I was going to activate the Phoenix's ability. Now, unfortunately, because they cast Abrade in response to that and negated my Phoenix's ability, it made me use that mana and not actually get to do anything with it eventually. So that actually was kind of upsetting. I lost a mana here and lost the ability to play the Angler post-combat with the hollow ones because of that, but that's okay. It only put me behind a turn. That's not the end of the world. Now you will see the my opponent try to block Flameblade Adept several times here. They do this, I think, like 4 times, because they're very confused about Menace, I believe. But they go ahead and cast Snapcaster Mage, target some nonsense in their graveyard. It looks like it's an opt, and we're going to see that flip. Now, this is the exact reason why I didn't play those other hollow ones, so hopefully I could ambush my opponent into getting their Awaken Horror flipped and playing my hollow ones post-combat to try kind of turn the corner on this game a little bit. So there's those hollow ones. Next turn, we're going to get a Gurmag out. Now, I let this Awaken Horror through. I'm at 13. This is fine. It's okay. I'm going to smash in next turn. This was a mistake, guys. This was a mistake. Because here's an opt. Here's going to be a couple other cards. They're at 6. I'm at 6 because they just... Look at that. Or, well, no, they didn't. What was I looking at? I don't know what I was looking at. But I draw a bolt, right? But I'm at 6, they're at 6. So I know they obviously have some sort of tricks on combat. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be a Cryptic Command, right? Like, look at the amount of cards they have there. Or, my gosh, they have 6 lands. That's even going to be a Snapcaster onto the Cryptic from their graveyard. So I go ahead and get my Phoenix here, and guess what? There's a Snapcaster. There's a Cryptic. They go ahead and let me get the Phoenix on the battlefield, and then they tap my team, draw a card. This is going to put me in a very bad spot because I am going to have an Awoken Horror coming at me next turn, but it's okay. Here is going to be a Gurmag Angler, and guess what? There is a Flameblade Adept. I have 2 blockers. I'm feeling like this should be alright, but oh no, Snapcaster Bolt taking me to 3, and then another Bolt. This is, well, bad. So they end up killing me on 2 bolts there, even though I feel like I made some pretty good plays. Sadly, we do lose that match. So we're going to go on, or that game. So we're going to go on to game 3 of match 4. All right, well, here is game 3 of match 4. Now, unfortunately, this I clicked through my opening hand, but it was not good. So I am on a Mull to 6, and this looks good. I am on turn 1 hollow one with a couple of Street Wraiths. I like that, so I am going to keep this hand. That land is, well, it's looking okay. I would like to have 2 lands, so I go ahead and put it on the top. I cycle my Street Wraith a couple of times. I fetch out a mountain, and I throw my hollow one on the battlefield turn 1, and that feels good, right? They're going to Serum Visions. They are going to bottom both cards. Awesome. And we're going to find a Bolt. Now, this is looking good. I have some removal spells in hand. I'm going to be able to play Flameblade Adept and then hold up some sort of removal in case they play like a Thing in the Ice or something like that. Because honestly, that's kind of what I'm scared of at this point. Because Thing in the Ice is very strong against me. Now, here's another Serum Visions, and guess what? 2 more bottoms with Serum Visions. Heck yeah, that is great. I'm going to fetch out a Blood Crypt here end of turn so that I can have access to some black mana. And there's a Collective Brutality. Now, that is looking good against my opponent, which is so heavily, instants and sorceries. So that's fantastic. Let's take a look at what they have going on here. And we're going to see they have Vendilion Clique, a lot of lands, Opt, and Remand. Now, Remand will set me back a spell, but I only have 1 mana spells in my hand, so honestly, that's fine. I have 2 lands. They're not going to get me too bad with Remand. Opt is a spell they could cast this turn on instep with the open mana they have. I want to be able to negate the open mana they left up. I want to be able to stop that play from happening this turn. That seems kind of tempo-y enough that makes it the right play. So I go ahead and grab that Opt, because let's be honest, nothing else they have is that scary, right? Like, you know, if they remand, like I said, it's not a big deal. If they Vendilion Click, not a big deal. What are they really going to grab from my hand that's that scary? So I feel like I'm sitting in a pretty good spot based off what's in their hand. So they go ahead and fetch, pass the turn, and here's a Thoughtseize. That's not bad at all, right? But on draw step, they're playing that Vendilion Click. So this is where some interesting things happen. So they're going to cast this Vendilion Click, but before its effect can actually resolve, it goes on the stack when this enters the battlefield, right? So that allows me to respond with a couple of things. They're only at 6 life. So what's going to happen is before this resolves, I am going to use the Bolt to hit their face for 3. Now, I should have actually used the Bolt on their Vendilion Click. That was a misplay on my part because I mentally was thinking Fatal Push could take care of it. Obviously, it cannot. But I am going to, you know, get them here. So they're looking at this, and I think they had the exact same reaction as I did, kind of, because they're going to snap concede here, and they get a little salty in the comments. But they concede, and I win match 4, 4-0 in competitive Modern League. Pretty exciting, going on to match 5. All right, here we are with match 5 to our Modern Competitive League, and we are 4-0 right now. We are getting ready to find out if we can make it 5-0, if we can get that ever-elusive trophy. Now, looking at this first hand is okay, right? Like, it's keepable, nothing too exciting, but I guess I just play Flameblade Adept turn 1, then hit some discard synergies after that. My opponent plays Mishra's Bauble, which is interesting, but I'm not actually sure what modern decks play that. But Watery Grave does, well, it still leads me to think Death Shadow. It led me to think it before, it's still going to lead me there now. So I'm going to go ahead and cycle the Street Wraith, because I think I just need to find some cards in my hand. But let's play this Mountain, throw out Flameblade Adept, because, you know, if I could have found something really exciting with that Street Wraith, it could have been worthwhile to do something else, but my Flameblade Adept gets Fatal Pushed right off the bat, so, that's sad. But they Thought Scour themselves. We see a Temur Battle Rage in there, so that pretty much confirms what I was expecting. We're against Death Shadow. Now, Burning Inquiry actually tosses a Thoughtseize, a Shadow, and a Thought Scour into their graveyard for them, so I get rid of some nice cards there, and I honestly keep a lot of them that I don't want myself, but I can crack this Arid Mesa for a Blood Crypt and get a good card on the battlefield. Now, I actually believe I'm going for the Tazagur here because, no, I wasn't. I thought I needed, I thought I had one too few of cards and I would have had to got rid of that Phoenix to play the Gurmag, but that is not the case. So there is a Gurmag on the field for me on turn 2. That's always great because they're trying to play big creatures and hopefully my Gurmag can just kind of outsize them, right? They toss a land and a Gurmag to the graveyard with that Thought Scour, so that's another threat that's getting off the field, but they are going to Thoughtseize me, and, well, the obvious choice is Tazagur because the Blood Gas actually helped me by going to the graveyard. I'm going to play this Bloodstained Mire, and what's cool is this going to let me play the Phoenix, get in with both of these guys, and then crack the Bloodstained Mire on main 2, grabbing a Swamp, playing a Blood Gas, and for the next 3 turns, I just get to throw Blood Gas on the field. Now, here is a Death Shadow that is a 5/5, and that can be a little scary, but, you know, it's alright. And we see a Flameblade Adept, nothing too exciting, but let's play another Blood Gas that has haste. And let's just smash in. And I'm going to attack with the Gurmag here too, because if they trade with their Death Shadow, it's fine. I have 6 more damage on the field. I'm taking them to 2, and I'm going to keep 3 good creatures that can still win me the game. They're going to last-ditch effort a Thought Scour here, and they're just going to see the writing on the wall, concede. We go off to game 2. All right, game 2, we are on the draw, and we see this hand now. This hand is not bad, but it's not great. I mean, we turn 2 Bloodghast, and, you know, we can hold up a Bolt on the first turn. It's kind of a blah hand. We're going to toss it away. That's not good. But here we see some Disruption cards. You know, Burning Inquiry isn't a great card against Death Shadow, but I kept 2 in the deck after sideboard. And, you know, it's fine enough because it's going to let me hopefully power out Tazagar. I mean, let's hope we don't throw it away with that Inquiry, right? But we're going to see our opponent play a untapped Blood Crypt turn 1 and Faithless Looting themselves. Now, this actually makes me think Burning Inquiry is not a bad card to play, because if they're kind of shaping their hand the way they want it to be with that looting, let me go ahead and disrupt it, right? Like, that sounds like a great thing to do. So I'm going to play Burning Inquiry. I'm going to get out a Dismember and a Snapcaster Mage in another land. I feel like that's kind of a win. Those are not bad cards to get out. Now, unfortunately, I do not lose either of my Bloodghast, but nicely, I did not lose my Tazagar. So that's going to be able to come down on the field next turn. They do Thoughtseize me, though, and, well, they grab that Tazagar that I wanted to play. So it goes away. At this point, they are casting a turn 2 Gurmag, something I didn't want to see because I wanted to be the one with the turn 2 Gurmag. But I do find a Faithless Looting here. I'm able to toss both of those Bloodghast, and I get a land off my Street Wraith cycle, which was, let's be honest, a great pull, because we get both of these Bloodghasts on the field. We are able to play our own Gurmag to match theirs, and things are not looking bad. We kind of turned around after facing a 5-5 on turn 2 pretty well. They're casting Faithless Looting out of their graveyard with only 3 lands on the battlefield after already playing a land this turn. That feels great. That means they are almost out of answers, right? Like, if they're using all their mana to just kind of fix their hand, I'm good with that. They don't attack in, but I go to combat and I decide, you know what? I'm going to risk my Gurmag, because I can take them low enough. If I get their Gurmag off the field, I'm confident I can win. With this Bolt in hand with the push to deal with any Death Shadows, I think this is a trade I can make. I can sacrifice that Gurmag Angler. Now, they are getting a 4th land at this point in time, and they're tapping out, not tapping out, but they're tapping to play something else. Now, what are they going to play but another Gurmag Angler of their own? This isn't awful, and there's a Nile Spellbomb, because look at this. I have a Lightning Bolt in hand. If I attack with both of these Bloodghasts for them to think, hey, let's, you know, block one and get it to the graveyard, it'll deal 2 damage. Lightning Bolt will finish off that Angler. So I'm good with this. And if Bloodghast goes to the graveyard this turn and they feel like they need to Nile Spellbomb my graveyard away, well, they don't have a black mana up to be able to cast, to be able to draw a card off of it. So exactly what I want to happen happens. They block with that Angler. I'm able to, in my second main, crack that Lightning Bolt, or play that Lightning Bolt, and kill their Angler. And they did go ahead and crack that Spellbomb, getting that Bloodghast out. So they're at 6. I have a Bloodghast on the field, and uh-oh, there's a Death Shadow that's a 7/7. It seems terrifying, but remember, I have a Fatal Push in hand, and that is going to do its job on Instep. So that feels pretty good. I'm going to get ever closer to winning this game. And I'm going to go ahead and cast Goblin Lore here because, you know, I want to hope to keep that Angler and get some stuff in my graveyard, and look at that. I did it. Now, I can't play it this turn because I only have a Mountain in hand, and obviously I need black mana. So I'm going to attack him with this Bloodghast, and I'm actually going to hold the Mountain in case this Bloodghast dies, and I need to replay the Bloodghast. And I am actually in luck, well, quote-unquote in luck, because, well, here's a Snapcaster Mage, and my Bloodghast is going to get Fatal Pushed. So I'm not going to play the Mountain on my turn, but wait until theirs, in case they have some, you know, sorcery speed removal or something like that that would get rid of it, that I can kind of avoid by playing the Bloodghast on my turn. So they attack in, they pass, and I'm looking at an empty field. Now here is a Mountain that's going to grab my Bloodghast back for me. And then I'm also going to be able to get Gurmag Angler, but I'm going to go ahead and attack in here. They are less than 10 life, so, or less than or equal to 10 life. So Bloodghast gains haste. I get them down to 4, and let's tap out for an Angler. That sounds good to me. So it's going to get on the battlefield. My opponent is going to start their turn. They're going to see what can we find to deal with this situation, because it is not looking good. They are at 4 life, but they can't find much right now. They're going to pass turn. And then what do we find but a Flamewake Phoenix, literally a perfect card for me right now. So I'm going to play this Phoenix. I'm going to have the 2 in the air I need and the 2 attackers on ground that only one of them can be blocked. This is going to deal the 4 damage, barring something crazy happening. Snapcaster is going to block my Angler. I think, well, they must have a Bolt here. They must have something here. And it looks like that's the case. There goes my Bloodghast. Sad to see it go. But I'll go ahead and replay my Bloodghast, and they're at 2 life. They don't find anything off the top of their deck, and they concede, making us go 5-0 in a competitive Modern League, and I am stoked about that. That is awesome. Not only does it mean a lot of prizes, but it means a lot of pride for me right now. I have 5-0'd some standard friendly leagues, but this is actually my first time ever playing a competitive league. I wanted to play this league just to try to go 3-2. I felt like I was going to be pretty happy with that, but 5-0ing this thing, that was beyond my wildest dreams. So I am excited as can be to 5-0 this league. That is awesome. I'm just really proud of the fact that this deck was able to do it. I'm really happy with where this deck is at right now. So I'm going to be making some more videos of it. I actually enjoyed doing this kind of time-lapse thing, so I may do some more videos like that. I don't know how it'll be received, but I actually quite liked this. So we'll see about that in the future. But yeah, I just wanted to show this off. 5-0 league. Thought that went pretty well. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all next time.